Hey everyone, this is Cece. It's nice to see you guys. I'm going to hold on for just a moment because I'm trying something new. I'm trying to see if I can connect with um, YouTube Live. I was trying to connect also with YouTube Live. So those of you that don't know me, I'm Cece Schatz, and you're listening to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. If I repeat all of this that we're talking about here, then it's because I was able to connect with YouTube. So we're going to try that. But anyhow, just to let you know that WGSN-DB Going Solo Network, we are the #1 internet singles talk network, and we're very proud of it. I tell you what, we have many shows on here that will help singles worldwide, and we're hoping that we can connect with you and help you through maybe some of the difficult times in your life, but also elevate you to that new horizon, to the new place that you want to be, whatever it is. And we have a gamut of shows touching from spiritual inspiration to health and love and unfortunately divorce recovery, relationship loss, and just business. We talk about business. We talk about just good books to read. Great authors that we have in our lives. So we're very happy with that. It doesn't look like I'm going to be able to actually connect with YouTube. So sorry about that, guys. But anyhow, so let's get on with the show. Those of you that don't know me, I am the doyenne of relationship and basically relationship building. And so what I help do is take you through, I'm hoping through some of the darkest times in your lives to transitioning into really living your best life. And what is your best life? I've often been asked that. Your best life is what is great for you, where you're at the moment, living in the moment and really embracing it, understanding where you're at and loving that, thinking that today is just the start of something new. And that's what living your best life is all about. So those of you that are tuning in for the first time, I normally have a guest, but unfortunately I don't have one tonight. So we're going to talk about this great topic, which I thought was very interesting. It's I have 32 advices for divorced men. And a lot of this, women, we can also take heed and listen to this because I think some of it is very important also. But I wanted to focus on the guys because we have a great deal of men within my own personal divorce support group that really are awesome guys, and they're truly struggling to be able to get beyond, get through. And often, our I hate to say this, but our divorce support group, we call ourselves the D-Land, the D-Landers, and we often are the ones that are left behind. And what that means is that we are the ones where the relationship has broken up and our partners have moved forward far quickly than we ever imagined. And it doesn't matter who initiated the actual divorce. What it matters is that in our particular group, is who's struggling to get their footing, after that. So that's what this, that's what we're going to talk about tonight, because I wanted to help the guys out there who are struggling with this. And let me tell you, we've got some very good quality men that are out there. And ladies, I just want you to know that when they're through some of the difficult steps that they have to take in order to heal themselves, they're awesome guys. So beware, because they are going to be great guys to meet. So the #1 thing is take care of yourself, both ladies and men going through divorce. We often refer to the lost weight as the divorce diet or the relationship loss diet. Those of us that have suffered pain and really trauma in our lives, sometimes we don't eat well. We're kind of almost like in a state of shock, aren't we? And so this is a time where we really have to stop and take care of ourselves. We have to really put ourselves on a priority and making sure that, #1, we eat healthy, we get the rest, which is usually so hard sometimes to get, but try to get the rest that you can. And then also, start working out, start taking this energy that you have once you're going through divorce. Take this, and I want to say it's negative because it is. When we're going through divorce, it's a very negative time in our lives. So we can take that energy and we can, put it into being healthy, right? We can start exercising, working on ourselves, maybe getting ourselves fit. But taking that energy and putting it somewhere else will actually lift you up a little bit. Maybe it'll make you tired so you can actually sleep, but it'll make you start feeling a little bit better about yourself. And so I think that that's so very, very important. And you know what? We want you to live longer because we love you. We want you to know that, you know, we want you here on this earth. And so we want you to take care of yourself. So that's very, very important. Those of you that are listening on other platforms, I won't be able to see you if you're talking to me because you have to come into our WGSN-DB Going Solo Network Facebook page. And if you come right in here into the lobby, you're welcome to come on screen with me and chat if you'd like. We'd love to be able to have you. The next thing is get a therapist. By golly, you know, why go through some of the hard times in your life by yourself? You know, when there are excellent therapists and coaches out there, individuals that are professionals that have gone through what you've gone through, they really do understand. So why not connect with them to be able to help you through it? I'm not necessarily saying that you're crazy, you know, that you're off balance. What I'm saying is that you need another partner, you need another person in your court. You know, you need somebody to be able to talk to be able to get some of those things out. So definitely see a therapist. I tell everyone in our group, you should have a therapist. You should have somebody that you can talk to without judgment, but will give you that sense of direction that you can go in when you need it in times of need. Also, learn about divorce. How many times, and like I said, this is great for women too, learn about divorce. Do you know what the heck in your state? I know a lot of you are listening to me in another state. Do your homework. Figure out what the laws are in your state and know what you're going through, right? Understand what it is. And it's very, very important because you need to know all the steps that you're going to go through in divorce. And the other thing is sometimes when you're putting yourself on, and men are very good at this, if you take the emotional side and you step away from it and you put your energy into something that you can actually control a little bit, you can actually, you know, do some work, do some things too. And we're going to talk a little bit more about those kind of things. But when you can focus on that kind of stuff, let's say, you know, paper shoving or whatever, paper shuffling, if you start focusing on that, it really kind of diverts it a little bit for you. So it's a very good thing too. So really learn as much as soon as possible as you can about divorce. You know, ask around, read articles. For here, Florida is a statute state, so you can go and read all the statutes with regards to divorce, and you'll know the law because it's pretty much there. Now, unfortunately, the law is your understanding of what it is, and so there's some gray areas there, but it's also for our state, it's pretty much in writing. So go and learn about it and figure it out. The other one is don't do stupid things. You know, don't be stupid, right? I think Judge Judy says that all the time. Don't be stupid. And what we mean about that is just don't do things that you know are going to get a negative reaction, right? Don't push your ex's buttons just because you simply can. Because often we know what we can do or what we can say that's going to push their buttons, and that's not going to get a reaction that's going to be good for you. Not only is it going to be bad for you in just terms of trying to get things worked out, but what it's going to do is it's going to create all this craziness within. Why do you want that, right? Why do you want more problems, you know, unless you're that type of personality? Well, that's a whole nother show, right? But you just want to get through it, right? You want to get through really holding on as best you can. You know, so you want to keep, you know, when you're going to work and everything, you want to keep yourself a little bit private as to what's happening with you. You want to have some secured friends that you can possibly talk to. And then we'll talk a little bit later about, you know, maybe possibly a group or whatnot. But you want to have that. You don't want to talk about it with your coworkers. You don't want to stir up things for your ex. You want to, you know, even though, let's say your ex had an affair or she did something like that, you don't want, number one, everyone to know about it. Number two, you don't want to drag her through the mud. right? Because she might very well be the mother of your children. And so you just don't want to do anything stupid, right? You don't want to post things on social media that's going to have a negative effect for you or for anyone else. You don't want to look like you're a little bit crazy, even though at times right now, what you're going through, you almost feel that way, right? Because you feel that you're so unbalanced, that things are going so up and down for you. And so what you want to do is try to be steadfast to the character of who you are, to your core values, be who you are. And so you don't want to do anything out of the norm for you. You want to be who you are and have people respect you. So whatever comes out of your mouth, right? And whatever actions that you portray, whatever you do, you want it to always have a good effect on you. So sometimes, even though you want to say and do those things that, that has hurt you to the core, you just want to get them out there and let people know. The reality is all it's going to do is affect their vision of you, right? And you don't want that. You don't want that tainted. So the best thing you can do is hold your head high and be as respected to yourself as you deserve, right? And so you only want to talk and say things that are really, really something that's going to affect you in a very positive way. And if you can't say, like my mom said, if you can't say anything nice, don't talk at all, right? Don't talk. And so sometimes that's a good motto too. So again, don't do anything stupid. If you feel like you're going to do something stupid, what I would say, or if you feel really angry about something, take a piece of paper and write it all out. Fold it up, right? And just put it down. And then when you go to bed and you get up in the morning, you'll find that whatever you felt right then when you were writing it wasn't really as important, or that you felt that you had to get out, right? Because once you write it down, you've actually released it. You've released it. And so we think sometimes if we verbally say something, we release it, but we don't, because that still kind of stays pent up within ourselves. But when we write it down and maybe give it to a secured friend that can just read it over and say, okay, you were having a really bad day. Or, if you can release it that way, that's the best thing to do. Sometimes for me, what I do is I'll write it down because I'm ticked off, right? I'm ticked off at life sometimes. I'm ticked off at things that might have happened to me. I'm ticked off at things that, the manipulation sometimes that happens within my life from my ex or whatnot. I get mad about stuff, right? And do I have every right to yell from the highest bridge, what the heck? I sure do. But what's better for me is to write it all down, pick up the piece of paper and tear it in a million pieces. Because what I've done is I've released my anger and I've torn up the pieces angrily. So this way I've kind of got that pent up anger out of me. And because we all feel angry, we all feel sometimes that we've been done wrong. And I'm sure my ex feels the same way. I'm sure there's many times that he's said many things about me or felt many things about me. That's just part of being human, I think, sometimes, right? Okay, the next thing is figure out what matters to you from the start. What is really, truly important to you? Because so often we argue over the stupidest things, right? We argue over the little bitty things. Like, for instance, I could say this pen is very, very important to me, so I want to keep this pen. I'm going to argue about this pen, and it's going to probably cost me several $1,000s to argue over who gets this pen. Or I can say, this pen doesn't really matter to me, so I'm not going to worry about it. I don't really care about it, so I'm not going to argue about it. And I'm going to let that go. And I'm going to go buy another pen. And so that's what's important to you, is you've got to figure out what is truly important to you. If you have children, your children are important to you. So what's important there? The visitation is important. You want to make sure you have a good parenting plan that's equal to you and to your spouse. And ladies, you want to do the same thing for the men. We want to have equal rights within our children. We want to raise them as best that we can. So if you have children, that's very, very important to you. The other thing that might be important to you is just hanging on to some of those good memories. Like right now you might be thinking you don't really have them, but if you taint today, okay? If you make today just as miserable as possible, you will tarnish those memories of yesterday. And so sometimes I think we need to really stand tall on what's happening to us so that we can really embody what's important to us. So the things that really are important to you, if it's a material thing, if it's a boat, let's say for instance it's a boat, or it's your car, or if it's your 401k or whatever. Number one, find out what your state's requirements are, what it is. Am I falling apart here? Am I coming out apart? Find out what your state, is. Is it like a 50-50 state? What is it? Ownership, who has it, or whatever. But figure that out and start carving those things out. Figuring out, like, number one, what the value is. Like, for instance, if you get the boat and she gets a vacation home, is the vacation home worth more than the boat? Start figuring out what these things are that you're dividing. If you don't have anything to fight about, why are you fighting, right? Why? It's just not necessary to do that. The other thing is, get your financial documentation in order. That's probably the one thing that's like right on the top there that you want to be doing. Number one, you want to know what you have and what you don't have, right? You want to be able to start getting all your account numbers together on all your bank accounts, all your retirement funds, or whatever that you might have. Any assets that you have, you want to know about what they are and start listing out what the value is. Any debts that you might have, you need to get all the account numbers and what you owe and what's going on with that. You need to start figuring out what that division is going to be in your mind of what it is and what's important to you, right? Because sometimes you don't always get a 50-50, right? And so what you start doing is you start making a priority of what it is important to you. So men, you guys are really great about doing this. And keeping this in order. And so why don't you start today and start getting that stuff together, making sure you understand anything and that nothing else comes out by surprise. Get it all together. Know what your numbers are, right? That's what we were talking about. Figuring out what your assets are, what your balance sheet is, figuring those out. When you start listening, for instance, here in Florida, we have a financial affidavit. A lot of that is really, I feel, and I'll be upfront, I do not feel that the way our, and I don't want to say laws or anything, but the way we handle divorce today, I don't feel it's appropriate for all the parties involved because it's a little crazy, right? And so when you split up, and let's say, for instance, as an example, one party, and sometimes this happens to men, they move back in with their parents, or they do something, or they live really, for me, it was the other way around. That's why I think men can relate to me, because for me, it was the opposite way. My ex received all this stuff, and I was just like pretty much at death's door. And so often that happens. And so when you fill out your financial affidavit, you think you need to be doing it as truthful as you possibly can, and most certainly you must. However, you need to also keep in mind of what your expenses are going to be legitimately, even after the divorce. What you really need to understand is where you're at with that, And so you need to really know what your numbers are and really kind of get them together. So, for instance, if your child goes to private school, you need to know what that number is. If you are, looking at living expenses, you need to be honest with yourself. Okay, I may not be paying what I should be, or living in a place I really should be living in. What am I going to be living in after the divorce, or after I kind of know what's going on here? So those are the figures you want to be putting in place. So you want to be real about your financial affidavit, but be honest about it, for sure. And any doubt whatsoever, go to a professional and have them help you fill this out. If you have an attorney, and we'll talk a little bit here about an attorney. If you have an attorney, talk to an attorney about it. Making sure that you're doing the right thing. Do your homework, okay? Do your homework about what you need to be doing. That's what's really, really important. Okay, and then they went on to say, figure out what your finances are, but don't obsess about them, because so often when we're going through divorce, so far I'm just seeing both of this for men and women, but so often we obsess about the future of what we think is going to happen. We have no idea. We might go out and spend $1 and buy a lottery ticket and end up, having more money than we know what to do with. But the reality is we got to live with it, right? We got to live with what is happening to us. And I know I struggled when I was going through my divorce. I struggled with facing reality because I would just constantly put my head in the sand, and I would be I just couldn't face what was happening to me. I was just beyond it. And so we have to do that, because when we don't rise up to our best potential of a person that we are, we get mowed over. And when we're going through divorce, that so often happens to parties. And so what I'm asking you is not to be a bully, but to just rise up and be the person that you should be, right? And if you're going to give knowingly, right? If there's a reason that you have to take, then understand that. We're never going to get through all these, so I'll try not to talk so much. But anyhow, don't bury your wife in spreadsheets before she's even ready to talk. A lot of this is, some of this we probably can go over because I think it's just really crazy. But like, for instance, sometimes when you're going through divorce, when another party is wanting to hide something, so often they bombard you with paperwork. That happened with me. You just get paperwork after paperwork after paperwork. Can't catch your breath, right? You're just overwhelmed with the whole process of it. Slow it back, stop, just slow it down a little bit. And don't bombard your ex with a lot of paperwork that's going on. Start to figure out what it is that you want to do, because I tell you what, sometimes the paperwork can come back to bite you. You're trying to impress parties so much, and maybe you're trying to gain a little bit of that respect that you feel like you might have lost. But when you start throwing out a lot of paperwork with a lot of numbers on it, you never know what those numbers are going to add up to, or what's going to happen with that. So take a breath before you start doing something. Really know what you're doing before you do it. Because whatever you put in writing, it's there, and it's hard to change it otherwise. The other thing is, get yourself organized. You know what? The best thing you can do for yourself is really start putting everything in order. Get a box. I got a box. I start organizing everything, putting everything together, start gathering up your emails, printing off your emails, making sure that you've got everything together. What's really important is that you prove what you've paid. So if you've actually paid for something, make sure that you've got that all written down. You've got all the information. So often I hear in the divorce support group is that, let me see. Let me just get out of here. So often what I hear in the divorce support group is a lot of the gentlemen, they'll continue to pay for this or they'll pay for that, and they don't get receipts for it. They give a lot of cash stuff. So you want to make sure that whatever you pay for, you have a receipt for it. You have some sort of proof that you've actually covered some sort of expense. Vice versa, ladies do the same thing. If he's paid for something, you want to make sure you make a note of it and keep it fair. I've often think that if you really do the right thing by each other, you end up in a far better place, right? If you're fighting and you're bickering and you're carrying on about it, what's going to happen is it's going to end up costing you more money in the long run, because you're going to spend more time with attorneys and things like that. It just makes it crazy. This one is, don't think that just because you're a guy, you've got to keep it together all the time. That's so true. Just because you're a guy doesn't mean you don't have feelings, right? You don't have emotions. And so often we feel, we go through this in our whole life thinking that men need to always be tough and rugged and be there for the women. But when it comes down to relationship loss, it hurts the core of who we are, right? Our heart just hurts. And there's just sometimes just no way of getting through that without the pain. And so sometimes I think you have to embrace that pain, and you have to know for what it is, and value the pain that you feel, because just think what kind of person you would be if you didn't feel it, right? I've often said that that I know that if I feel this pain, if I know that I'm suffering, that I know I actually really in my lifetime had something that I thought was worth something, right? The one that moves forward, goes straight into another relationship, forgets, the door hasn't even hit shut and they're already moving on to something else. They have no value for you, right? And so you think to yourself, why should I have value for them? The reality is that you had value for the relationship. You had value for the person that you had married at the beginning, right? Not the person that's leaving at the end. And so it's hard. And so I think that for men, we always think that they shouldn't show emotions, but I think so much of the opposite, because I think a man that shows his emotions, it truly is real, is a keeper. They're the ones that truly have feelings, and they're the ones that can be touched and touch others. So definitely I feel like you should do that, and reach out and ask for help if you need it. There's divorce support groups like my divorce support group, and I'm delighted to say that we're going to be taking our group national. It's called Going Solo Next Step. We're still working and tweaking a little bit of the website, but it is there. You can join it. It's Going Solo Next Step. And but if you don't want to join my group, that's fine. But join a group if there's a group out there, right? Or get a coach, or get someone, go to your clergy, someone that you trust, and say, you know what, I'm really having a hard time. I'm really struggling here. And it doesn't demean who you are. If nothing else, I think it lifts you up, right? It makes you a stronger human being, to understand that we all have weaknesses in our lives. We all have, things that bother us, and we all feel. And so, well, I shouldn't say all, because some people just don't. And when they don't, what a loss. But the ones that are feeling, just know that it's okay to hurt. It's okay to feel. And the most important thing is to connect with somebody else that can understand that for you and help you move through that, listen to you if you need to talk or whatever. I think that's very important. Don't hide money. Oh my goodness, this is a big one for me. Don't hide money. Hear that? All the exes out there, men and women, don't hide money. And those of you that hid, you know who you are, and I won't mention your name, but shame on you, right? And because eventually hiding money is just like having a skeleton in your closet. Eventually it will come out, right? And then it'll be shame on you, and you'll pay for that. You'll pay for it's just like lying, right? So don't hide money. Now, I have on occasion told individuals who are going through abusive relationships that there's things that they can do in which to start preparing themselves, and not meaning that that's a hidden money. What I'm talking about is, let's say you have a secret account that you've been stashing money away, and then you don't want to disclose that at the divorce. Well, that's wrong, because believe it or not, the funds that you made within your relationship are joint assets if your state so deems it to be. So you want to be careful about things like that. And you want to make sure that you're doing everything on the up and up. So you don't want to hide money. And I'm not talking like $20 or, whatever, something like that. But if you've got, the other thing is, you don't move your money around. Like, for instance, I've heard of people and have experienced it where 5 accounts here and 5 accounts overseas, or 5 accounts over here, and you're just moving money here and there and here and there and everywhere. Well, what does that make you? You know? And so if you start doing things like that, even if it's honest money, even if it's an honest, honest relationship that you're making with the money, it's not going to be perceived like that. You know, you're going to be perceived as being totally dishonest, and that's certainly not what you want. You know, you don't want to go through your divorce like that, because then it's going to come up and it's going to rear its ugly head. And so you certainly don't want to do that. So you never, ever want to, do something that's dishonest, because, karma will come back, and it may be a lifetime, but it will definitely come back. Get your own attorney. I agree with that. I think that if you are going through an adversarial divorce, when you guys are fighting, get your own attorney. Each party should have their own attorney, and they should represent you as the best that you can, which is why you need to know about divorce. Okay, you need to do your homework, because and this is also one of them, is don't expect your attorney to know everything. Your attorney doesn't know everything, but you don't want to bother your attorney with things that he can't, or he or she can't do anything about, right? That don't pertain to the law, because your attorney is there to protect you for the law, protect you throughout your divorce, which is more of a paper filing. Everything is done on certain times and things like that. They're there to file those things and make sure your legal, your legal rights are protected. But they're not going to know, if Judy hit you or was abusive to you or this and that. And so you want to be able to disclose to your attorney what you need to disclose and what's necessary to disclose in order to, make sure that your assets or your liabilities or whatever are protected. Like, for instance, I can give you an example. For instance, let's say you are, you're now separated, but all of a sudden, and you've moved out and she's there, right? And she's all of a sudden selling everything. Well, you should definitely tell your attorney about that, so he can put a freeze on her being able to do that, liquidating all of your assets that are together. So those are the kind of things that you need to make sure, that you're keeping a definite eye on. Spend as much time with your kids. Gosh, that should be like a number one thing. Always spend as much time. You want to do that when you were married. Should definitely do that when you're going through a divorce, right? Spend as much time as you can with your kids, as if it's just the last time you'll ever have with them. Always spend as much time, because you always want to have that bond, right? You always want to help them through some of the most difficult times in their lives. And so going through divorce is going to be one of those times. So you want to be able to be there for them, help them, be involved in their lives, really. Try to make them understand that really nothing is going to change. Your love isn't going to change. Your being there for your kids isn't going to change. Maybe being with you sometime and then being with mom another time, that's going to be a little bit different. The dynamics, if I could talk tonight, the dynamics of your relationship has changed, but not your love and how you're going to spend time with your kids. It's going to be different. Like, for instance, you went to work and left your kids anyhow, right? They went to school. They did those things. And so now what you do is you just have to balance the times that you spend with them, when they're at home from school, when they're doing different things, activities, when you're doing activities with your, let's say, a social gathering of some sort for your children. Don't think you shouldn't go because your soon-to-be ex is going. Why? You're both parents, right? Whatever problem you two have together is your own personal problem. It's not your kids, right? So go to whatever the function is. Make sure that you're there and you're proud and you're happy and you're the best dad you can be. Same thing with moms. Go and be very happy. One thing I have to say about my ex, we were very joint on everything with my son. Even at the beginning, we still did birthday parties together. I still attended Harry's birthday. I still did all of those things together as he was growing up when he was little. So he didn't feel that it was any different, right? Was it difficult for me? You betcha. You betcha it was difficult for me. And will it be difficult for you? Yes, it will be, but we just gut it up and we get through it because we have to do it on the behalf of our children. We have to do always what's right because that's who we are. That's a core of our being, right? And so we just need to do what it is and making sure. Okay, this one here I thought was really good. Don't become purposely unemployed so you don't have to pay support. Shame on you. I mean, really, that's listed in one of the stupid things, okay? Because who is that hurting? It's hurting everybody, including yourself, right? Why are you going to purposely keep your income down? You're going to purposely show your income is low. For what reason? So that you can simply be taken back to court later on, right? When you're making six figures and you've always made six figures and all of a sudden you're dropping down to 30, 40,000 a year. Yeah, right. She's going to be looking at that, whatever the outcome of your divorce is, she's going to be looking at that. And as soon as you're right back up to the six figures, she's going to haul you right back into court again because you weren't honest. How could you be honest? How could you be at six figures the whole time you were married and then all of a sudden, bam, when you got a divorce, you dropped down? So, again, if you want to do that because you don't want to pay support, what kind of support are we talking about? Support for your children, right? Support that you want to put food into their mouths and you want to take that away because why? Punish your ex? No, that's not the kind of person you are. That's not who you are. That's not the core of who you are. So anybody that tells you to do those kind of things, don't do them. And if you do them, mark my word, karma will come. It will come to you because you are hurting your children when you do those things. You're not hurting your ex. She'll get through it, She'll get through those hard times. The same thing with ladies out there. If you're doing that to your guy, right? You just have to be a good human being when you go through divorce. Why do people think that simply because they go through divorce, they don't have to be good human beings? You have to be a good human being. And if you're hiding your money, if you've gone down and not making the income that you rightfully should make, you're hurting not only yourself, but you're hurting those around you. And it's just not worth it. It's not worth doing that. You might, you save a couple $100. Let me tell you something. Money goes up and down. Material items go up and down, up and down. 1 minute you'll be flush and you'll be good. And the next minute you'll be down and out, And so, I think it's all about the universe, right? You want to raise yourself up into that universe. You want to always do the right thing. And when you step out and you know that you have done the right thing, even though you feel burnt, and as you move forward in your life, you will have that sense of relief knowing that you have done the right thing. And so I just think that it's just not the right thing to do is to purposely make yourself look bad so you can save a buck. I don't see it, and, if that's the case, you don't have a good attorney, You need to have someone that's got your back, making sure that the income that you're making and the division that you're making, your children are taken care of, and that your ex-wife also has a responsibility in that, right? No, so, the same thing, ladies, okay, since we're talking about men, ladies, if you can go out and get a job, go out and get a job. Go out and do what you need to do to support yourself. I've heard it time and time again, where in our divorce support group, where the woman has degrees, but she doesn't want to use them, right? Because she stayed home with the children or whatever. Well, you know what? Really, I tell you what, when you go through divorce, you want to get into the business sector. You want to start building a life of your own. You want to start being independent. And so, ladies, come on, get with it. Get with life today, And so, guys, try to support them in being able to do that. If it takes some sort of financial support to get them up, to get them back into, making a decent living so they're not a burden, then help them do that. But do that under the guidance of your attorney. Do that under the guidance of the court system. You know, work with your attorney to be able to protect you and help you get through. I like this one here, is that don't cancel your wife's health insurance. Now, I'll tell you what, when I went through my divorce, I was going through a bad time. I found out I had cancer, like onset of cancer. I had to have an operation. I was going through all of this kind of stuff. And then I found out, canceled my health insurance just right before I was going to go in and have an operation. Well, he didn't cancel it. He just told me canceled it so that I would go through having a heart attack. Well, my attorney was a good attorney, and right on, he was right there on that on that particular time. He was a good attorney. He was right on that, making sure that didn't happen to me. You know what? Shame on you if you're going to do something like that. Now, if you're having trouble paying for the insurance policy, then let's talk about it. If the premiums are difficult for you to pay for and you're paying for other support, but let me ask you something. What'd you pay for when you guys were married, right? When you guys were married, how'd you manage it? So when you're going through your divorce, it's kind of like the same thing, but the only thing I realize, and it's hard, step fast, is that there's going to be a whole nother household now that you have to support, right? You have to be able to pay for rent, do whatever. And so that money's going to come from somewhere. And so that has to be some give and take somewhere. And so this is why I'm saying, talk to your attorney, get on the same page. You've got these kind of expenses, but if you think you're going to get even with your soon-to-be ex because you're going to cancel her policy, let me tell you something. You're still responsible. Your assets and your division of stuff is still going to be there until you actually get divorced, right? And so if she becomes ill and then she can't have the insurance and can't take care of herself, then that's going to change. The liability is going to be changing. So it just doesn't make sense. And if you've got children, how horrible would it be if you're not taking care of making sure the mother of your children is not well enough to take care of your children? So, think, don't be stupid, think about things before you do it. Don't do something just to get even with somebody else, right? Because if you do that, it's just going to come back and bite you. It's just going to be just a horrible, horrible experience for you. So do, again, your core values. Be who you truly are. Be the best of yourself, right? And that's what we want. Don't start dating after or during your divorce. Don't start doing that. You're thinking to yourself, hey, well, she's moved on, right? She's got a relationship. She's already, shacked up or whatever. Well, that's her, right? That's not you. And so going out and doing something like that, all you're going to do is now get another woman in the mix, and that's all you need is 2 women, right? Or 3 women or 4 women, or end up getting someone pregnant, and then where are you going to be? So the thing is you're not ready for dating. Are you ready for another relationship? You don't want to start dating until you're actually ready for a relationship. And let me tell you, I know this from experience because I got resentful myself. I thought, well, he's moved on, he's gone on, whatever. I'm going to start dating. So I started dating, and then what happens? I meet these great guys that want more of a relationship than I could possibly give them. And I know I ended up hurting them. And in fact, I hurt myself, right? Because I knew that I just wasn't my best self. And so we want to be our best self. You're not ready to give yourself to someone else. You're not ready to do that. And all it will do is cause chaos in your life, right? It truly will. So it's just not worth doing it. And so often you think, oh, well, if I meet somebody else, I'm going to show her, I'm going to flaunt it. I'm going to let her know. Well, that isn't going to help you anywhere down the road, right? It's all going to do is get her upset or whatever. It's just not going to be that way. Something here that I wanted to share is also, we talked a little bit about making sure your calendar. Let's talk a little bit about your calendar. Making sure that your kids' appointments, write them down. Get a big calendar and write everything down. Write down your kids' activities, making sure you're there, making sure you're on time to things. Don't show up late, right? And just to tick her off and do certain things like that. It just doesn't but keep everything and keep all of your important deadlines written down so you know and you don't get upset about it and it's not crazy. The other thing is, resist being, the kind of dad that goes out and takes, Johnny to all the sightseeing stuff, all the fun stuff, all of that. Because you know what? At the end of the day, you're never going to make up for the pain that your child's going through from divorce. And filling all that time into all this busy, busy stuff and redirecting his attention to something else isn't creating that bond that you truly want to have with him, right? So what you want to do is you really want to spend quality time with him. So like, let's say, for instance, if he's doing baseball, go out and throw the ball with him and help him to learn how to bat, help him to catch. If it's a daughter and she's got certain things that she likes to do, go do certain crafts with her. Believe it or not, they love doing that kind of stuff. And I tell you what, some of the biggest joys are and I've seen it on girls, if they let their dad wear fingernail polish and put makeup on and all that kind of stuff. You could take all that stuff off afterwards, but you allow them to express themselves and you be a part of it. And you both laugh and think it's hilarious, along the way. Well, I tell you what, this time went very, very fast. I think there's still things here that we can talk about. If you guys like this, I hope you'll shout out to me. I've got a few more things that we can cover. Maybe we'll do this on the next time around. But I think it's important for both parties, both men and women. And guys, I wanted to make this kind of about you. But, ladies, we can learn a lot. And we can learn a lot from our guys, So I think it's very important that we together are strong as human beings. But I want to leave this last thing with you. And you heard me say it over and over again, is that if you want to be of value to yourself and to others, you have to really understand your core values, understand who you are, and don't deviate from that. Be a stand-up person and always do the right thing. And sometimes it may cost you a little bit. It may cost you mentally down the road, a lot of pain or whatever, but we get through it. But it may cost you financially. You'll make more money. It'll happen, But the most important thing is making sure that you are true to yourself. You're true to your being. You're true to who you really, truly are, because you want to be able to look in the mirror and know that you've done always the right thing. The other thing, you want your kids to look at you and say, you know what, no matter what happened, my dad did that. He paid for baseball. He did this. He did that. Whatever. He did the right thing. That's what's important in life. So I'm going to leave you with that. This is Cece with Going Solo, and you are listening to the Going Solo Show with Cece. I'm Cece Schatz. I'm the doyenne of relationship building. I hope you enjoyed the show tonight, where we talked about, some advice for men going through divorce. You are listening to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. We are the #1 internet singles talk station, and we really try to help connect singles through various different shows here. If you like the show, please make sure you say you like it. Please listen to us on our live broadcast here on Facebook and join us. We'd love to have that. Also, we are also on YouTube. We've got a great station on YouTube, the WGSN-DB Going Solo Network on YouTube channel. Please subscribe to our shows. We would love that. And, please be there and help us, motivate us, and keep us going, because we love to hear from you, and you are so very valuable and important to us. So we love you. I want to thank you for your support, and I'll see you next time. If you guys want to email me, just email me at goingsolonetwork@gmail.com, and I look forward to all your emails, questions, or anything that you have to say. I'll talk to you later. Bye for now.